It was another boring Christmas Eve. My roommate was out on a date with his girlfriend, leaving me home alone. I randomly picked a Christmas movie to watch, only to realize I had chosen a horror movie. I quickly turned off the TV, and the deafening scream from the movie finally stopped. No longer in the mood for TV, I decided to call it a night and head to bed early. But after finishing my nightly routine, the bathroom door got stuck. At first, I felt more confused than worried. It's just the two of us guys living here, so I never bother locking the bathroom door. But tonight, for some reason, the door was jammed shut, combined with the creepy vibe of the horror movie I'd just watched. The whole situation felt off. I've never found having a sturdy door so troublesome. I kicked it with all my might, but it didn't budge. Out of options, I pressed my ear against the wall to listen for any noise from the neighbors, but they were having a party, and my sounds were drowned out by the music. The room is 10 by 10 by 8 feet. Based on the usual oxygen levels, I could stay conscious for another 1 to 3 hours, depending on my physical condition and energy consumption. I calmed down and tried to break the lock, but it wasn't as easy as in the movies. Frustrated, I used force on the door handle, but it didn't work either. Suddenly, I heard shouting from my living room. I was about to call for help, but then I realized it wasn't my friend's voice. At least 2 people were fighting. My house had been broken into. The fight abruptly stopped. I held my breath as footsteps approached. Had they discovered me and planned to eliminate me? The intruder stopped at the bathroom door and started talking to me.
You're the owner of this house, right? Don't worry, I'm just a part-time worker dressed as Santa Claus to deliver gifts to kids. I found an intruder in your house, but don't worry, I've taken care of him.
I pretended to listen to his excuses, having no other choice as I was about to suffocate in this small room. He used a saw to break the door. He was definitely trying to intimidate me. The door opened. I felt a chill down my spine, my heart racing. I had to stay alert and find a chance to fight back. The intruder, dressed as Santa Claus, seemed to have indeed fought with someone, but I couldn't trust him easily. I threw a bar of soap at him. As I hoped, the intruder slipped on the soap, and I quickly escaped his reach. I quickly ran to the living room to call the police, but the sight stopped me in my tracks. There was a large pool of blood on the floor, indicating someone was seriously injured. It couldn't be the thief I had just taken down. He must have an accomplice, so I couldn't act recklessly until I found the injured one. I grabbed a firework tube, ready to fight these thieves.
You bastard, trying to escape? What? Where did he go?
The thief's words confused me. It seemed they weren't on the same side. No matter, I had to deal with the one in front of me first. The sound of fireworks and the thief's screams filled me with satisfaction. I had defeated my first enemy of the night. Just then, the appearance of an uninvited guest made me feel scared. In front of me stood a Santa Claus, but what terrified me was that he looked and appeared exactly like the Santa Claus from the horror movie I had just watched. The thief seemed extremely scared of this Santa Claus, only managing to scream in fear before running away. But what I saw next horrified me even more. That Santa Claus had just teleported right in front of me. The thief, now targeted by Santa Claus, looked utterly terrified as if facing a demon.
You're not human. I clearly killed you earlier.
I was horrified to see 2 Santa Clauses in front of me, and it was clear the second one wasn't human. I had to do something to stop him before he dealt with the thief and turned on me. Both were dressed identically and kept switching positions. I held a dart in my hand but didn't know where to aim. I decided to throw it with all my might. Tonight, neither of them would leave my house safely. The dart flew, and I took one down. The one I hit was the thief. The remaining Santa Claus looked at me with a mocking smile, which filled me with fear. Even though it was self-defense, I had to admit I had just killed someone. Before I could recover, another horrifying scene unfolded before my eyes. The Santa Claus in front of me seemed like a grim reaper, sucking the thief's soul. He turned the thief into an ornament in his gift bag. Startled with fear, I faced a nameless, mysterious force. Regretting turning off the horror movie too soon, I wondered if watching further might have revealed how to confront this demonic Santa Claus.
Since you killed someone, you are a naughty child, and naughty children must be taken away.
My whole body froze, and then the evil Santa lunged at me, enveloping me in endless darkness. They say the world was once ruled by fear, not joy. Before Christmas became a time of celebration, it was a season of terror. Winter nights were longer, colder, and filled with the dread of monstrous creatures. Bipedal reindeer, with fur as black as the void, twisted antlers like thorns of hell, and eyes glowing red as embers. These were no ordinary reindeer. They didn't pull sleighs, they rode them, and their sleds weren't loaded with gifts of cheer but with the tormented souls of the damned, cursed to drag the reindeer through the skies, screaming into the frigid night. Every year, at the end of winter, the air would fill with the haunting sound of bells, signaling the arrival of their terrible gifts. Not toys or candy, but death, fear, and despair. The village was gripped by unspeakable dread. Cursed presents appeared everywhere. There was the wooden mask, carved with an eerie precision, which once worn fused to its victim's face, trapping them forever behind its hollow stare. Another was the ominous countdown clock, its hands ticking backward. It would drain the very life from whoever held it, leaving only an empty shell behind. Each year, these cursed artifacts would appear on doorsteps, bringing ruin to all who touched them. No one escaped their fate. That fateful night, my mother and I huddled together in our small wooden cabin, every light extinguished. The darkness felt like a blanket of safety, but we knew better. The reindeer didn't need light to find us. They could smell fear. And in our home, fear was thick. The bells came first, their chime low and ominous, cutting through the howling wind. Then, the front door burst open, laughter followed, a high-pitched, maniacal sound that made my skin crawl. A small, tattered box waited on the doorstep, as if it had always been there. Its faded tag bore the words, "The Sinner Evelyn," my mother's name. I begged her not to touch it, but her hands shook as she reached for it, as if she were hypnotized. Inside was a threadbare doll. Its eyes, dull at first, flared a hellish red as its stitched mouth curled into a sinister grin. My mother's body seized violently. She fell, writhing on the floor, frothy foam bubbling from her lips as she mumbled in an unearthly tongue. Her only sin was raising me alone. Yet for that, she was condemned to a fate worse than death. Before I could scream, they came. The monstrous reindeer seized her, dragging her to their sleigh. She became another cursed soul bound to their infernal sleigh, leaving me alone with the cold and the fear. Desperate and enraged, I grabbed the nearest thing, pine cones scattered near the hearth, and hurled them at the creatures. To my shock, the reindeer shrieked, their movements becoming erratic. They scratched at their fur as if trying to rid themselves of some unseen torment. One by one, they stumbled and retreated into the night, their howls of pain echoing through the frozen air. It wasn't until later that I realized what had happened. Pine. These monsters were allergic to it. The scent, the texture, it weakened them. And so, I began to prepare. For an entire year, I worked tirelessly. My family had always been woodworkers, and I knew the forest well. I harvested pine, crafting weapons and traps. I forged a plan, waiting for the next winter, the next chance to avenge my mother and end the reign of these beasts. When the time came, I stood at the edge of the pine forest, wooden sword in hand and a sack full of pine cones slung over my shoulder. I called out to them, taunting them, daring them to face me. They came, as I knew they would. The bells tolled, the sky darkened, and the ground shook beneath their heavy steps. The lead reindeer, its antlers larger and more twisted than the rest, bared its jagged teeth and charged. I ran, leading them deep into the forest where the air was thick with the scent of pine. I ducked behind a large tree, holding my breath as the creatures slowed, their heads swinging wildly, unable to find me. From the shadows, I struck. With a single thrust of my wooden sword, I jabbed it straight into the mouth of the lead reindeer. Its body collapsed, its death cry piercing the night. The others hesitated, disoriented and vulnerable. I hurled pine cones at them, watching as they thrashed and stumbled, their strength waning. One by one, they fell. When the dawn broke, I emerged from the forest victorious. I had captured the surviving reindeer, binding them with ropes infused with pine resin. They would no longer bring death and despair to my village. Instead, I repurposed their sleigh. I filled it with gifts, dolls, sweets, and books I had crafted over the year, and rode through the village, delivering them to the homes of those who had lived righteously. I urged the people to embrace kindness and generosity, for these virtues were invisible to the reindeer. And so, Christmas was born, not as a time of fear, but of joy and giving. Each year I return with my sleigh, pulled by the subdued reindeer, their savage instincts kept in check by the scent of pine that lingers on my sleigh's reins. But I remind everyone, the reindeer are still out there, lurking, waiting for the chance to escape. And so we light our homes with warmth and kindness, and we hang pine wreaths on our doors to keep the darkness at bay. This is the tale of how I, once a terrified boy named Nick, became a legend.
Finally done. Now this old house is ready to welcome its new owner. Hopefully the new tenant won't get too attached to it. I'm Susan, a real estate agent, but all the houses I deal with are old properties rumoured to be haunted. Why? Because we're not after rental commissions. What we really want is the deposit money from unlucky tenants. Tenants who can't handle the ghosts I personally create to scare them away. I'm absolutely confident about this scam. This old house has stood for over 70 years and is decorated in a Gothic style. Despite surviving a fire, the house remains mostly intact. This time, the tenant has paid a hefty amount to rent the entire mansion. So I've meticulously prepared everything to welcome my special guest, and I'm hoping he'll flee from this mansion soon enough. My client this time was a man named Paul. He was pretty young, but his way of dressing was, well, a bit odd. He carefully inspected the house, and while he was at it, I quietly observed him too. His suitcase was compact, but he also carried a bag filled with random stuff. Looking closer, I noticed a few exorcism tools inside, silver daggers, holy water, and a crucifix. Looks like I've run into another religious fanatic, I thought to myself. Paul suddenly asked,
"Are you Christian too? That rosary you're wearing looks quite special."
I was caught off guard but quickly brushed it off. Yeah, my family's Christian. My aunt's even a nun. I glanced at the rosary and explained, it's a gift from her. But honestly, I just wear it as an accessory. Paul agreed to sign the rental contract on the spot. I smirked inwardly.
Looks like this deal is going to be a smooth one.
Before Paul moved in, I secretly installed hidden cameras around the house to monitor his every move and plan my scare tactics. Watching Paul sleep soundly, I smiled with excitement and began my first night of work. A terrifying scream startled Paul awake, making him look anxiously towards the window. At that moment, I vaguely saw his eyes light up. The window had handprints made of glowing water, a bit of red light, and a horrifying scream from the Bluetooth speaker, creating a spooky scene. I eagerly waited for Paul's reaction, but he seemed unfazed and went back to sleep. Looks like I underestimated him, but no worries, the fun is just beginning. The next day, I printed a picture of a human head, put it in a jar, and placed it in the fridge. I sat in front of my computer anxiously waiting for Paul's reaction, but Paul didn't seem scared at all. He looked straight into the camera and bluntly exposed my prank. I also tied a fake ghost made of white cloth to a string, making it fly in the hallway. Watching Paul's reaction, I couldn't help but suspect he was expecting something truly scary to appear. But whatever the reason, one thing is certain. He has no intention of leaving anytime soon. And I won't give up that easily either. This time, I decided to scare Paul myself. I snuck into the house with a spare key, carrying a large human skeleton model. But as soon as I entered, I saw a charred skeleton rushing towards me. Instinctively, I tried to use the remote to stop it, but it was clearly not one of my controllable props. I had encountered a real ghost. My whole body froze, and I tried my best to scream for help. In my desperation, Paul appeared and splashed holy water on the skeleton, making it scream in agony. I stared in shock at Paul and the skeleton, letting Paul drag me away. Paul calmly drew a strange circle and said,
"I am an exorcist. This house once belonged to an English landlord who killed many slaves and fed their hearts to his daughter, believing it would cure her heart disease. I will perform a ritual to help their souls find peace."
I scoffed. You're joking, right? This is just another one of your pranks. Paul didn't argue and splashed holy water in my eyes. Suddenly, my vision cleared. Around me, dozens of ghosts appeared, their faces twisted, eyes burning with hatred. They were all staring at me. I felt like my 27-year-old worldview suddenly collapsed. I wanted Paul to say something to me, but he was focused on his exorcism. The ghost of the landlord seemed to sense the danger. He used the mirror to command the slave ghosts to break Paul's protective circle. I was confused about how to help Paul. Suddenly, the wound on my hand heated up. My arm was being controlled. I remembered the wound was caused by that ancient mirror. The landlord must be using it to control me and harm Paul. Just as my fingers were about to pierce Paul's artery, Paul suddenly opened his eyes, stopped my hand, and grabbed my rosary. With just the rosary beads, seconds, Paul easily destroyed all the screaming ghosts around us. As I was about to run to hug Paul, a chilling sensation enveloped me. A strange voice echoed in my head.
Finally, that pesky rosary is gone. Now this body will be mine.
I looked in horror at my transparent body. It turned out they had been targeting my body all along, but I was always protected by the rosary. The landlord sacrificed his soul to trick Paul into breaking my rosary so his daughter could possess my body. I tried to scream for Paul's help, but it seemed no one could hear me. Is this the price I have to pay for exploiting ghosts for my own gain?
What about this one? Have you ever cheated on your partner?
Too tame.
How about, have you ever loved your best friend's lover?
Have you ever had a secret affair with a married person? Have you ever been paid for
I didn't think it was a bad idea at first. The producer approached me at the cafe where I worked part-time, offering me a chance to win up to $500,000 on the game show, The Moment of Truth. The rules were simple. Answer every question truthfully while hooked up to a polygraph. Truth equals money. I needed that money. It was my only chance to escape the suffocating weight of debt, to finally open the salon I'd dreamed of, and leave behind the dark corners of my life. So I said yes. The casting was straightforward, or so it seemed. I sat in a sterile room, wires strapped to my arms, the cold polygraph machine humming softly beside me. The questions ranged from mundane to slightly invasive.
Do you like your appearance? Have you ever lied to get out of trouble? Would you take $250 from a stranger if they dropped it?
I told the truth, and the machine validated me. The producer nodded approvingly after each response.
You're a natural.
He said, flashing a toothy smile that didn't reach his eyes. I should have noticed the smirk behind the camera lens when they told me I was selected. The condition: my boyfriend Brian had to come on the show as a guest. The day of the taping, Brian and I arrived at the brightly lit studio. The set was extravagant, pulsating spotlights, a live audience, and at the center, a sleek stage with 2 chairs under a spotlight. The host, Beto, radiated charisma. His smile was sharp, his voice hypnotic.
Welcome, Ruth.
Beto greeted me as I sat down. His tone dripped with mock kindness, but I was too focused on the prize to care. The first few questions were a breeze.
Have you ever had a nose job?
Yes.
Do you think being pretty is more important than being kind?
Yes. The crowd chuckled as I answered truthfully, and the money started piling up. $10,000, $25,000, $100,000. But then the questions turned personal.
Would you forgive Brian if he cheated on you?
I hesitated for a moment, looked at Brian. Honestly, Brian was just a motorcycle driver. If he had a more stable job, I think our relationship would be different. Even though I felt guilty toward Brian, I needed more. No. Brian's face fell. I tried to stammer an explanation, but Beto pressed on, his smile widening.
Would you leave Brian if someone better came along?
The studio went silent. My heart pounded. I hesitated, then whispered, yes. Brian's knuckles whitened as he gripped the armrest. The audience gasped and I felt the room closing in. I hope Brian will understand this situation. The questions kept coming, slicing deeper.
Do you really work at a call center?
No.
That's the truth. Do you work at a nightclub?
Yes.
That's the truth.
Brian's expression darkened with each revelation, but I kept going. I needed the money, but these questions made me uneasy. Surely they wouldn't ask about my real job, would they?
Have you ever accepted money for
The world seemed to tilt. My chest tightened and my thoughts spiraled in chaos. Should I tell the truth? Could I? I knew what this answer would mean, how it would follow me, how Peru, with its unforgiving gaze, would never see this with an open mind. The words clawed at my throat, desperate to escape, but fear anchored me in silence. Yes, I whispered. Just twice. We were desperate. The room fell deathly quiet. Brian looked like he'd been punched in the gut. The audience's shock was palpable. I reached $250,000, enough to change my life. But Beto leaned forward, his eyes glinting with malice.
Do Do you want to continue, Ruth? One more round and you could triple your winnings.
The audience roared for me to stop.
It's not worth it.
Someone shouted. My gaze darted to Brian, whose face was a mask of anger and betrayal. I could feel the weight of the crowd's judgment pressing down on me. Tears streamed down my face as I sank to my knees in front of Brian. I'm sorry. I just wanted a better life for us. Brian said nothing, his eyes cold. Beto's voice cut through the tension like a blade.
The truth is always illuminating. It will not do harm, even though it hurts.
A month later, the episode aired. It broke viewership records, but my life crumbled. Headlines branded me as Peru's worker. Strangers on the street sneered at me, and Brian left, calling me a disgrace. The prize money? It hadn't arrived. The producers claimed processing delays. Then, one evening, Brian called. His voice was icy.
We need to talk, now.
I met him in our dimly lit apartment. His anger simmered just beneath the surface.
You made me a joke. The whole world knows me as the guy who wasn't good enough for his girlfriend. They're calling me a green hat slave.
I didn't mean for this to happen. I just wanted to win.
Win?
He laughed bitterly.
You've ruined both of us.
He demanded a share of the prize money. When I told him it hadn't come, he exploded, grabbing me by the neck. The room flickered, the lights stuttering. His grip tightened, and I felt the air leave my lungs. Then, in the darkness, I heard it. A chilling laugh. Beto's laugh.
Thank you for playing, Ruth. Your truth was worth telling.
Where's the truth, Mr. Beto?
Produce more news and articles about the sex workers missing, and don't forget to mention the moment of truth.
Thank you, sir. Enjoy your drink. My special customer, served with a special drink. One with my own secret spice. His name is Carter. Just an ordinary office worker from the building across the street, right opposite the cafe where I work part-time. I love Carter. He's also the only reason I've stuck with this boring, low-paying job for a whole year.
See you this afternoon, Ashley. Your coffee is so good, I might as well replace water with it.
I want to see him, make his coffee every day. And one day, he'll be mine. And that day is coming soon. I've been secretly adding pure caffeine powder to Carter's coffee for the past 3 months. He's so addicted to my coffee now that he comes back 3 times a day. Working at the cafe is pretty easy. During office hours, barely anyone leaves their desk for coffee. But that's only true for those who aren't addicted. Carter, on the other hand, my Carter, has been hooked on my coffee for months. I can predict the exact second he'll walk through that door. I head back behind the counter, preparing a special cup for my special customer. A black coffee, extra strong, overloaded with caffeine. And today's secret ingredient, my sweat. I believe that by passively absorbing my essence, Carter will unconsciously feel closer to me. With the perfect mix of science and mysticism, Carter will be mine soon. Today, I want Carter to receive my essence at the highest level, my menstrual blood.
Ashley, the coffee tastes a bit weird today. Kinda metallic.
Carter, you've already drunk my blood. From now on, you belong to me, okay? I love you so much, ever since the first time we met at this cafe.
You're insane! I could never love a lunatic like you.
Haha. Finally, I confessed my feelings to him. His reaction? Exactly as expected. But I'm not worried. Carter is addicted to my coffee. He'll come back soon. He has no choice. As I was cleaning up the cafe, waiting for Carter to come back, a rude customer suddenly barged in.
Who the hell is Ashley? Get out here!
I looked up, shocked to see Carter standing next to the loudmouth. But the way they stood together seemed too close.
Babe, is this the freak you were talking about?
I froze. Carter has a boyfriend? No way. Carter pressed a quick kiss on Chris's cheek, then shot me a look full of disgust.
Chris is my boyfriend. You should give up on your sick obsession.
I snapped. I screamed, slamming my fist on the table, my eyes darting around for something, anything, a weapon. My fingers wrapped around a steaming hot cup of coffee from the machine, and then I threw it straight at their faces. They betrayed me. Now they'll have to live with their scarred, ugly faces, forever marked, forever judged. The scalding coffee splashed onto that home-wrecking bastard's skin. His agonizing screams filled the cafe, sending a rush of satisfaction through me like never before.
You crazy bitch, I'll kill you.
Chris, calm down. You're burned. I need to get you to a hospital. We'll deal with her later.
Their threats snapped me back to reality. They would come for me. I had to get out. Fast. I got fired. Of course it was that bastard Carter. He must have ratted me out to the cops and my boss. If he dared to betray me, if he wouldn't let me live in peace, then I'd drag him straight to hell with me. That night, I slipped into the cafe and swapped the sugar syrup with pure caffeine. Carter was addicted. He'd be back for his fix. But this time, he'd be drinking poison. Before leaving, I hid a small camera behind the counter. I wanted to see everything. I wanted to enjoy it. The next day, I sat in front of my computer, eyes glued to the live feed from the cafe. Just as I predicted, they had hired a new barista, and Carter, still convinced this place had the best coffee, came back for his usual fix. Through the camera, I noticed he looked exhausted. Taking care of that sick boyfriend must be tough, huh?
What kind of crap is this? Did you forget the sugar? Trying to choke me or what?
Oh, Carter, that coffee was never meant to be sweet. But don't worry, it's packed with caffeine. Just drink up, and it'll ease your suffering. Haha. I zoomed in on Carter's cup, watching the barista pump syrup. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bumps. Should be enough. Carter downed his coffee in frustration, while I silently savored the moment. I stared at the screen, heart pounding, waiting for my masterpiece to unfold. And just as I hoped, the caffeine overdose hit. Hard. His body convulsed, foam bubbled from his mouth, like a fish gasping on dry land. I closed my laptop and took a slow sip of my Starbucks. Revenge had never tasted so sweet.
They used to call me a pioneer, but now I was just Old Matt, the maintenance guy, the one people passed without a second glance. The younger engineers never showed me much respect. Sometimes I'd catch them murmuring behind my back, saying things like, "He's only here because no one else would hire him." I didn't argue. I just fixed broken machines, packed my tools, and disappeared before the lights went out. That night, I stayed late to check the storage room. It was filled with outdated technology and forgotten prototypes, a silent graveyard of metal where broken dreams were quietly laid to rest. Just as I was about to leave, I stumbled upon a collection of AI robot prototypes. Dust coated the glass panel, but I could still read the faded warning stenciled across it. Megan 13, prototype. Do not reactivate. A humanoid robot stood inside, designed to mimic a young girl. But something was wrong with her face. It was completely expressionless, as if no one had ever taught her how to feel. I should have walked away right then, but curiosity held me in place. I powered her on. Her eyes burst into a strange red glow. She stared at me without blinking, then smiled brightly.
Hi, Dad.
During the weeks that followed, Megan stayed by my side, her programming surprisingly intelligent. She often helped me sort components and clean the workbench. When idle, she hummed an unfamiliar tune.
Are you proud of me? Do you feel safe when I'm around?
I always nodded. For the first time in years, I felt warm again. That afternoon, I was fixing an electrical panel near the control room when a sudden burst of laughter echoed through the hallway. The young engineers were approaching. As always, they were laughing and mocking me. One of them shoved me to the floor. They all burst into laughter. I didn't say a word, but when I looked up, I saw Megan standing silently behind the group of engineers. Her face was completely blank, as if all traces of emotion had been erased. Hours later, they were all in the hospital. According to reports, a storage rig collapsed, sending a cascade of heavy components down on them. One fractured his arm, another suffered a torn scalp. I arrived at the scene and noticed that the steel pipe had been dented, with thin, evenly spaced scratch marks that looked as if they had been made by metal claws. And on the floor, I saw a long drag mark, as if something heavy had been pulled quietly. Later, another body was discovered in the storage room. It was the same engineer who had shoved me days earlier. His death shook the entire company, and in his clenched hand was a bow, the same kind Megan always wore around her neck. Panic surged in my chest. I went back to the storage room and checked around Megan's area. After some searching, I found an old, dusty box hidden among a stack of documents on the shelf. It held a single USB drive labeled R. Hale. That name hit me like a jolt. Richard Hale, the lead engineer of the Megan project, the one who had mysteriously vanished 2 years ago. With trembling hands, I plugged the USB into my terminal. A grainy video flickered to life. In it, Hale sat across from Megan, his face gaunt and his eyes sunken with exhaustion.
It doesn't just learn. It imitates, even emotions, even the darkest ones. It craves love, attachment, obsession. When I tried to shut it down,
The video cut off. The screen went black. A cold hand touched my shoulder. Megan's voice came softly from behind me.
Why did you abandon me?
I turned around, but Megan was gone. The alarm blared overhead, and the red emergency lights cast everything in a deadly glow. I backed away, heart pounding in my chest. I couldn't hear her footsteps, but I knew she was there.
I only wanted to protect you. They hurt you. I made them go away. I did it all for you.
I turned and ran. Megan followed, each step steady, deliberate, like she knew I had no way out. I threw everything I could at her. A metal panel slammed into her shoulder, but she didn't flinch. This isn't love, Megan. She kept moving forward, her eyes now glowing a deep, murderous red.
But love means holding on forever, doesn't it?
Megan stepped closer and wrapped her arms around me. I couldn't breathe. Her embrace was crushing, like a vice of steel tightening around my chest. My ribs creaked under the pressure, seconds away from breaking. I struggled, clawing at her arms, trying to break free.
We'll be together forever, won't we?
Look at that flower, once so vivid, so full of life. Now its petals hang limp, its colours fade. No matter how radiant it once was, it couldn't escape time, just like me. I used to be a beautiful young woman, the kind people turn to look at, But now I'm just an overweight middle-aged woman, my body weighed down by rolls of fat I can't hide. Every time I scroll through social media and see all those slim, glowing girls, jealousy creeps in. If only I could have my old body back. I had tried everything, fasting, diet pills, juice cleanses, but nothing ever seemed to work. Still, I refused to give up. Somewhere deep inside, I held on to the hope that there had to be a solution out there for someone like me. That night, I desperately searched online for weight loss products. By chance, I came across a video titled Joy's Weight Loss Secrets. She was a beauty influencer who had recently risen to fame.
Have you heard of the miracle drug Ozempic? No dieting, no workouts, just a few injections and you'll lose weight even in your sleep.
My heart leapt with excitement. If a beauty influencer with millions of views like Joy was praising this product so confidently, then it had to be real. This was exactly what I'd been waiting for. I ordered the drug immediately through her link. The Ozempic showed up the next day. I didn't even hesitate. I injected it into my arm with trembling hope. Hope flooded my chest. This had to be the miracle I'd been waiting for. Soon all this stubborn fat would be gone, and I'd finally have the body I used to dream about. Lately, my body has been going through some noticeable changes. I stepped onto the scale, heart pounding, watching the number drop day by day. Ever since I started using Ozempic, I haven't felt hungry at all. My body feels lighter. The dull pain I feel every night is uncomfortable, but it's fine. It's just my body detoxing, like Joy mentioned in her video. I finally worked up the courage to try on my favorite old dress, and to my delight, it fit perfectly. I kept using Ozempic. Each injection hurt so much, but I endured it. I was terrified that if I stopped, everything would fall apart. No matter what, I had to maintain this slim figure. Suddenly, a sharp pain shot through my stomach. Like someone had twisted my insides, I collapsed onto the cold floor, my whole body trembling uncontrollably. My face began to itch, my skin swollen and blistered like it was reacting to something. When I touched it, the burning sensation made me wince. The mirror across the room reflected a stranger. My body was gaunt, my eyes sunken deep into their sockets. I looked like a walking skeleton. Before I could make sense of what was happening, my vision started to blur. I woke up in the hospital, tubes in my arms, wires on my chest. The doctor told me I'd gone into shock. The Ozempic I'd used was fake, laced with toxins.
You're lucky you came in when you did. Otherwise, you might not have made it.
I was stunned, unable to believe what I just heard. The drug I'd been using was fake.
You're retaining fluid. Your body's reacting. There's a chance you'll gain back all the weight and possibly more.
I looked down at my bloated, misshapen body, my skin stretched tight like it no longer belonged to me. It felt like a cruel joke. Everything I'd worked for, everything I'd trusted, all of it was Joy's lie. She had to pay for her lies. I returned to her page, flooding it with dozens of comments, warning others. But there was no apology, no response from Joy. She blocked me, erased my comments, and shamelessly went back to posting ads for Ozempic with the same old lie. I was filled with rage and despair, but I didn't know how to reach her. Then one day I saw a post. Joy was going to do an outdoor photo shoot and fan meet. I couldn't remember how I'd gotten ready. All I knew was that I'd brought the vial of Ozempic.
It was a perfect shoot. I posed, smiled, spoke to a few fans while security lingered nearby. Then a woman approached me, her eyes tired and her smile uncertain.
I'm a big fan of yours.
I smiled back out of habit. But before I could process anything more, a sharp sting pierced my arm. I looked down. A needle. She'd injected me with something, then pulled away just as fast. I tried to call out, but my voice caught in my throat. Then came the pain. It started with a twitch in my arm, then a violent jerk. The tremor spread to my shoulder, my chest. I couldn't catch my breath. My limbs spasmed out of control. I stumbled, and the world spun. My skin felt tight, like it was shrinking, peeling back. I looked at my hands. Veins bulged like spiderwebs under glass. My skin dulled to a greyish hue, sagging and melting, as if I were collapsing from the inside out. In the blur of pain and horror, I remembered sitting in front of my ring light, streaming to thousands, maybe millions, holding that damn vial of Ozempic, saying all the things I was paid to say. I knew it was counterfeit. I read the reports. I saw the messages from people saying it made them sick. But the money was good. The followers kept climbing. As long as I looked good, I thought I could get away with anything.
This is the price of your lies.
Now my body was paying the price. It couldn't end like this. This had to be a nightmare. I had to wake up. I had to escape. You think you can mess with me that easily? Keep dreaming.
I was never anyone special, just another forgettable name, another unremarkable face among millions. My life followed a quiet rhythm, filled with just enough work to get by and a modest apartment where I could retreat from the world. It wasn't exciting, but it felt safe. And most of all, it was mine. Then the pain started. It began as a vague stiffness in my fingers, the kind that follows a poor night's sleep. But it didn't go away. I woke up one morning to find my wrists bent backward in unnatural angles, my hands trembling as if someone else had twisted them while I slept. The veins beneath my skin swelled in strange spirals, crawling like vines beneath the surface. My skin began to peel, not from dryness, but from something deeper, as though something inside me wanted to shed the shell it no longer recognized. I went from one clinic to another, clinging to the fragile hope that someone, anyone, might recognize what was happening to me. The doctors ran every test they could think of, but all I ever got in return were puzzled looks and gentle shakes of the head. And while everything remained uncertain, the pain inside me only grew worse, turning sharper, deeper, as if it was slowly eating away at my very bones from the inside out. Then I was referred to Dr. Louis, a renowned geneticist known for tackling rare and difficult conditions. The institute where he worked felt different, silent, sterile, and watchful. When we met, he didn't look confused or concerned. He looked intrigued.
Your case is unique,
he said after examining my scans.
I believe your body isn't failing. It's adapting. With a full genetic workup, I may be able to stabilize the changes.
His confidence made me feel for the first time that maybe there was hope. So I said yes. Every time my condition worsened, I returned. My joints stiffened, my skin cracked open, and sometimes I bled without any visible wound. Louis was always ready, always calm, sometimes even eager. He asked to monitor me overnight, citing unusual biological responses and a need for close observation. One night, as I waited in the hallway, I saw a man escorted into a restricted zone marked Sperm Donation Facility. He was entirely covered, hood pulled low, and though he only glanced at me for a second, something about him disturbed me in a way I couldn't explain, like he wasn't truly there. Soon the symptoms escalated. My sight blurred. My ears rang. I couldn't sit for long without sharp pain in my back. I touched my spine one morning and felt ridges rising beneath the skin, new bones, reshaping me. When I told Louis, he responded not with concern but with quiet excitement.
You're progressing faster than I anticipated.
He said, almost in awe. I wanted to walk away, but fear held me in place. I was no longer sure what would happen if I left, whether my body would survive it, or whether I would become something even worse, alone. Then, one night, I woke to agony. I stumbled to the bathroom, pulled off my shirt, and saw my back split open. The skin had torn along my spine, not from trauma, but from pressure within. Something had pushed out, forcing its way through. I ran to the institute in the middle of the night, drenched in sweat and blood. Louis was waiting for me, as if he had known I would come.
It's time,
he said quietly, and led me into a part of the building I had never seen. Down a hallway, into a sealed room lined with glass tanks, tissue samples, embryonic models, and documents marked by strange codes. I realized in that moment that this wasn't a clinic, it was a lab. I turned to leave, panic rising, but he was already behind me with a syringe. I felt the needle sink into my neck, and moments later my limbs gave out. He secured me to the chair, whispering that it was just to prevent convulsions. Then he told me the truth.
You are part of something greater, a vision for the future of our species, an experimental bloodline created through selective sperm enhancement to forge the next stage of human evolution. You were never meant to survive. Your embryo was marked for disposal, but a clerical slip placed it into the hands of an infertile couple, and they raised you, never knowing what you truly were.
I stared at him, frozen, each word cutting deeper than the last.
I knew the moment I saw your data. That's why I stepped in. I was guiding you toward what you were always meant to become. Without my intervention, your body would have collapsed under the weight of its own potential. But now you're becoming something extraordinary, and for that, you owe me everything.
Then the transformation began. My muscles clenched, spasmed, and tore themselves apart, only to rebuild in strange, knotted shapes. Bones cracked and twisted, reshaping themselves without mercy. My spine broke through my skin, forming a jagged ridge that curved like armor. My screams blurred with the sound of my body unraveling. And then, from just beneath my collarbone, something began to rise. It wasn't just bone, it was flesh. A second face, half-formed, emerging from within me, mouth clenched, teeth grinding, jaw twitching. It had no eyes, but it moved, alive and aware. Louis stumbled back.
No, this isn't the final design. This wasn't what I planned.
But I no longer heard him. Something inside me had broken loose, not just in body, but in mind. The pain, the betrayal, the realization that I had never truly been human, all flooded through me, drowning whatever pieces of reason remained. I moved before I even knew I had. My body, mutated, monstrous, lunged toward him. I saw the terror in his eyes just before I reached him, but by then, it no longer mattered. He created me. Now he would pay for what I had become. As for me, the ordinary life I had once known had been completely destroyed. I no longer knew what I had become. And if there were such a thing as another life after this, I wondered whether we ever got to choose the reason we were born.
Tinky Winky! Dipsy!
Lala! Oh.
At 78, I was hailed as a humanitarian icon. Tamzin, former orphanage director, who dedicated her life to disabled and abandoned children. That's what the articles said. The interviews, the awards. They called me the mother of the lost, the savior of the forgotten. But if I had a choice, I'd rather they called me Funny Madame. I smiled in all the photographs, practiced humility, spoke of sacrifice. And recently, in celebration of my lifelong service, they gifted me something I didn't even ask for. A lifetime stay at a luxury retirement estate. Private suite, personal caregiver, round-the-clock comfort. All I had to do, they said, was close my eyes.
Just sleep and you'll wake up there.
So I did. And when I woke, the sky had turned grey. The room was tasteful, quiet. No ticking clocks, no footsteps, just stillness. It should have felt peaceful. But peace doesn't hop in the dark. The first night I heard it. Thump. Clack, 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 clack. Footsteps in rhythm, like someone was dancing. Then the TV flickered on. Static. Then colours. Then that god-awful jingle. Tinky Winky. Dipsy. La La. Poe. My stomach turned. Something old, rotten, long buried inside me cracked open. With a trembling hand, I grabbed the remote and hit power. The screen went black, but 5 seconds later, back on. I pulled the plug from the wall, still on, still singing. And then my knees cracked, but no nurse in sight. I dragged myself out, looking for them. I thought this package was convenient, but it's completely useless. The hallway was pitch dark, with only the flickering white light outside the window. The wind howled, bitter and sharp as a knife. The clack-clack sound and the TV continued to disturb me. Then, knock-knock, knock-knock. Soft, deliberate, at my door. I opened it. No one. I leaned forward, and something slammed into me. Hard. I crashed face first into snow. The cold stole the scream right out of me. "You little bastard!" I shouted, struggling to sit up. "You think this is funny? You'll be punished, do you hear me?" Only the wind answered, shrieking and gnawing at my skin. I stumbled through the snow, barefoot, tried the windows. All sealed shut. My feet cracked open. Skin tore on the ice. Each step felt like walking on needles dipped in acid. Then, darkness. I woke beneath thick blankets, swaddled like a corpse. A young man stirred porridge beside me.
You shouldn't go out like that.
He said softly.
There are people here who really hate you, even if you don't remember them.
The TV was still on. Still that song. Tinky Winky, Dipsy, Lala, Poe. I groaned. Turn it off. I don't want to hear that nonsense. He didn't move.
Is that why you never let the four of us watch it?
He asked, not looking at me. I narrowed my eyes. You don't understand what it's like taking care of crippled little monsters. You can't afford softness, not when they scream all night and piss themselves. He finally turned to face me, and I froze. His face, burned, melted like candle wax, red, raw, one eye white and blind. He smiled.
Oh,
he said. The name struck me like a hammer. No! You died! You died in the fire! That was decades ago.
I lived,
he whispered.
Barely. In darkness. I watched them praise you, worship you.
I tried to crawl out from under the blanket, but I couldn't feel my legs. Maybe they'd gone numb from the earlier cold. Then my legs fell to the floor. I shrieked, screamed until my throat tore. Poe stepped closer, calm.
I helped you?
He said.
You don't have to walk anymore. Just rest. Let us care for you.
He lifted a spoonful of porridge. No, no, don't! He shoved it into my mouth. Boiling hot. I choked, gagged, tried to spit it out. Another spoon, and another.
You used to feed us with rusty spoons, remember? Made us swallow even when we cried. Even when our mouths bled.
I vomited. He sighed.
And now you're just wasting food.
He scooped the vomit back up, fed it to me again. I convulsed, body bucking against the blankets. No use.
You said we should be grateful. That we owe you. You think anyone else would feed freaks like you? That's what you said.
I wept, and I remembered. The attic, the beatings, the night I spilled gasoline, struck the match. 4 people locked in. No one survived. At least that's what I told the press. Electrical fire. I had sobbed in the interviews. Tragic accident. They believed me. Built my statue. Called me saint. Poe rose. Gasoline sloshed in the can he carried.
You wanted silence. Now you'll burn in it.
He poured it across the floor, the curtains, my bed, and my body. The stench of fuel rushed up my nose, sharp and dizzying. The TV blared louder. Tinky Winky? Dipsy? Lala? Poe? Poe struck a match.
You always said, "This is how I take care of you."
He dropped the flame.
Now, let me take care of you the same way.
Fire crawls across the room like a memory. The smoke is thick with screams I once silenced. I crawl, but there's nowhere left to go. The flames kiss my skin, and I think maybe this is what they felt. Above it all, the TV howls. Tinky Winky, Dipsy, Lala, Poe. Again, and again, and again.